A lot of drivers think Subaru and Mazda sit in the same reliability camp. Both brands have loyal followings, both make practical AWD vehicles, and both market themselves as alternatives to the big Japanese players. But when you dig into how these cars actually hold up past 100,000 miles, the differences are bigger than you'd expect. Hello everyone, this is Jay from iShow Autos. It's time to hop in the front seat because today I'm finally going to reveal which brand actually builds the kind of car you'll still trust a decade from now. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below, the subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This isn't necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up and let's get back to the video. Every mechanic I've trusted over the years will tell you the same thing. Engine simplicity wins in the long run. And that's where Mazda starts to pull ahead right out of the gate. Mazda's committed to their Sky-Active engine philosophy, and the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 is the heart of their lineup. It shows up in the Mazda 3, the CX-5, the CX-50, and even the larger CX-90 in certain trims. This engine uses a high compression ratio, direct injection, and conventional port injection to avoid carbon buildup issues. It's about as straightforward as modern engines get. No timing belt to replace every 60,000 miles, no complex turbo plumbing on the base models, just clean combustion and predictable maintenance intervals. I've seen these engines routinely hit 200,000 miles without major work beyond oil changes and spark plugs. Now compare that to Subaru's FA and FB series boxer engines. On paper, the horizontally opposed layout gives you a lower center of gravity, which genuinely helps with handling. But from a reliability standpoint, we've seen persistent issues. The FB series, which powers the base model Outback and Forester, has documented oil consumption problems. We're talking owners having to add a quart between changes, and Subaru's response was essentially that burning oil is within normal specifications. That might be technically true, but it's not what customers expect from a modern engine. The turbocharged FA engines have their own headaches. Wastegate rattle on the WRX motors, oil dilution concerns in cold climates, and valve spring recalls that affected thousands of vehicles. Even the newer FA24 turbo in the Ascent and Outback XT has had reports of connecting rod failures, though those seem isolated to specific production batches. Then there's the elephant in the room: head gaskets. Subaru's older EJ engines were notorious for this, and while the newer FA series improved things, mechanics still see head gasket issues pop up more often than they should. It's not every car, but it's enough that used Subaru buyers specifically budget for potential head gasket replacement around 120,000 miles. Accessibility matters too. I've worked on both engines, and reaching components on a Subaru Boxer takes more time and more patience. The horizontally opposed design means parts are tucked under the car in ways that increase labor costs. Changing spark plugs on a Mazda takes maybe 30 minutes. On a Subaru, especially if you've got a turbo model, you're looking at an hour or more because of how everything's packaged. When you're talking about engines that need to last 150,000 miles without drama, Mazda's approach just holds up better. Round one goes to Mazda. Let me put it this way. If you've ever had to explain to a customer that their CVT needs replacing at 85,000 miles and it's going to cost $6,000, you know how sideways that conversation goes. And that's become a pattern with Subaru. Subaru switched to CVTs almost across the board starting around 2010, and while it helped their fuel economy numbers, reliability has been a major sticking point. Their Lineartronic CVT has faced multiple class action lawsuits over the years. Problems include shuddering during acceleration, hesitation when merging, complete transmission failures, and that distinctive whining sound that develops when the belt starts wearing. Even though Subaru extended warranties on certain model years, plenty of owners ended up footing the bill when failures happened just outside coverage. And this isn't a small sample size. NHTSA complaints and owner forms are filled with reports spanning multiple model years. The 2013 to 2016 Foresters, 2012 to 2017 Imprezas, and various Outback years have all seen widespread transmission issues. Some got fixed under warranty, some didn't. But either way, it's not the bulletproof reliability you expect when buying a brand known for longevity. Mazda took the opposite approach. They never jumped on the CVT bandwagon. Instead, they kept refining their traditional six-speed automatic transmission, and that decision has aged beautifully. It's a conventional torque converter design, the same basic architecture that's been proven over decades. It may not win every fuel economy comparison on paper, but in the real world, these transmissions feel natural, respond instantly, and just flat out last. I've personally seen CX-5s with over 180,000 miles still shifting smoothly. No shuddering, no hesitation, no expensive replacement bills. The transmission fluid still looks clean at 100,000 miles, and if you do the recommended service intervals, these units will outlast the rest of the car. That's the kind of reliability that keeps resale values strong and owners happy. Subaru's manual transmissions are solid, I'll give them that. The six-speed manual in the WRX and the base Crosstrek hold up well. But the vast majority of buyers are choosing automatics, and that's where Mazda has a decisive advantage. Round 2, Mazda again. Here's where things get interesting, because this is an area where both brands have had real problems, and both have responded differently. Subaru has a documented rust issue, particularly on models from the 2005 to 2012 era. We're talking about structural rust on rear subframes, control arms, and brake lines in regions where road salt is common. It got bad enough that Subaru issued a service campaign extending rust perforation warranties on certain components. But here's the thing. That campaign only covered specific model years, and plenty of vehicles outside that window developed the same issues with no recourse for owners. I've inspected used Subarus from the Northeast, and finding clean examples without frame rust is genuinely difficult. The problem isn't just cosmetic surface rust either. We're seeing structural components compromised, which becomes a safety concern and a state inspection failure in many areas. That tanks resale value and makes otherwise good cars nearly worthless in certain markets. Mazda dealt with their rust problems too, primarily on the 2010 to 2016 Mazda 3 and CX-5. They had poor corrosion protection on rear fender areas, and vehicles in salt belt states developed rust bubbles and perforations. The difference is how Mazda responded. They issued a warranty extension covering rust repairs for up to 10 years from the original purchase date, regardless of mileage. More importantly, they completely redesigned their corrosion protection process starting around 2017. Newer Mazdas use improved undercoating, better cavity wax in vulnerable areas, and upgraded metal treatment processes. The current generation Mazda 3, CX-5, and CX-50 show significantly better rust resistance based on early reports from areas with harsh winters. Subaru has also improved their rust protection on newer models, but the legacy of older vehicles with structural rust issues still affects brand perception. Interior build quality is another factor. Mazda stepped up their game dramatically with the latest generation vehicles. The interiors feel more upscale, materials are better, and the fit and finish rivals luxury brands in some cases. Subaru's interiors are functional and durable, but they feel dated compared to the competition. Cheap plastics, scratchy surfaces, and basic designs are fine if you prioritize utility, but when you're spending $35,000 on a Subaru Outback, you notice that a similarly priced CX-5 feels like it belongs in a higher class. This round is closer than the first two, because both brands have had issues, and both have made improvements. But Mazda's more aggressive response to their rust problems and their superior interior quality give them the edge. Round 3, Mazda takes it. Now we're hitting Subaru's strongest territory, because their AWD system is legitimately excellent. This is where they've built their entire brand identity, and it's one area where they clearly have the advantage. Subaru's symmetrical AWD is standard on almost every vehicle they make, and it's a proper full-time system. Power is constantly being sent to all four wheels, with a center differential managing the front-to-rear split. In slippery conditions, this system reacts faster than part-time or reactive AWD setups. It's mechanical, predictable, and genuinely capable in snow, mud, and light off-road situations. If you live in a place with real winters, Subaru's AWD provides peace of mind that few other systems match at this price point. Mazda's iActive AWD, on the other hand, is a reactive system. It's front-wheel drive by default and sends power to the rear wheels when the computer detects slip. It works well for most conditions, and Mazda's system is actually quite sophisticated with predictive logic that engages the rear wheels before slip occurs based on weather conditions, steering input, and throttle position. But it's not a true full-time AWD system, and there's a slight delay compared to Subaru's mechanical setup. For most buyers in most conditions, Mazda's AWD is more than adequate. It handles snow-covered roads, light trails, and wet conditions without issue. But if you're regularly driving in deep snow, unpaved roads, or need maximum traction in challenging conditions, Subaru's system is objectively better. Here's the catch though. Subaru's AWD system adds complexity that can become a maintenance concern over time. The center differential, the rear differential, and the transfer case all require fluid changes that some owners skip. When those fluids aren't serviced, wear accelerates and repairs get expensive. Mazda's simpler setup has fewer components to maintain and lower long-term costs.